you because she's in the area of C10A.
No, I'm not. This is very wrong. You can continue. I'm almost done. I have one more part.
So, sorry.
That's for me to read. Oh, yeah.
Make a short paragraph.
I felt pressure.
So this evening we're continuing the chapter on meditation, the section on the guide on meditation. And we're on to exchanging ourselves and others. It's something I think we hear pretty frequently. The songwriting of the exchange myself with others. And in this section of the guide, Master Shantideva will describe it in its deep form and in its meanings of form as to how to do that. So, who's she's done? Sure, the first verse. First two verses. The root text. The root text is in bold and yellow.
If you fail to practice perfectly this exchange of your own happiness with the suffering of others, you will never reach that enlightenment, and even here in the cycle of life there is no happiness. Forget the goals of the world beyond. Even in this life, none of the things you hope to achieve will come about. Those whose duty it is to serve you will do none of their work, and those masters you serve will never be.
So Master Shantideva and Gyaltsab are going to first talk about two problems that arise from not exchanging yourself and others. There are two broad categories of problems that arise if we don't exchange ourselves and others. And we're going to go into what that means and how that works. So please say... You say Ram, Shenzhen, Shen, Shenzhen. Shenzhen means to cherish, and Ram is yourself, and Shen is others. Cherish yourself and to cherish others. So there's this whole class of problems that we have that we're not even really conscious of and aware of. And according to Master Shantideva, they arise because of this, for these reasons, for the way in which we cherish ourselves and don't cherish others. Ordinary people in the world aren't even aware that they have these problems, and they're certainly not aware of the source of these problems. But there are the two main problems that are unseen from not cherishing others and exchanging ourselves with them. The first is that we can't reach enlightenment. It's not possible to reach enlightenment unless we engage in exchanging ourselves with others. Master Shantideva in this verse is saying, look, we have to trade places with other people. We go through life looking out for number one quickly, right? What do I want? What do I need? How am I going to get my needs filled? Me. So Master Shantideva starts to talk about how we have to flip that, and how we have to be thinking about other people and looking out for other people more than ourselves, or before ourselves, or instead of ourselves. And we're going to talk about that. But there are two invisible things that will happen if you don't do that. And if you don't really look into the laws of karma and study it, you wouldn't even know that you were missing out on these things by not engaging in exchanging self and others. And first kingdom, we won't make much spiritual progress. Certainly we won't get enlightened. There are certain obstacles on the spiritual path, and you meet people who have been practicing Dharma perhaps for years, perhaps they've been practicing casually where 5 to 10 years they've been going to class, they've been meditating a bit, and you ask them how their practice is, and they say, oh, it's okay. You ask them how their life is, and they say, oh, about the same, it's okay. Well, anything profound happening, or anything holy happening, anything miraculous happening, you're meeting holy beings, and you say, no. Not really. No, just no. Also meet Dharma practitioners who are very diligent and very sincere, and they do their practices every day, they do their pushing time every day, they make efforts to keep their vows, and yet there's something which prevents them, some obstacle which prevents them from making significant progress on the path and getting to a point where they start to have these profound and miraculous experiences of meeting holy beings and such. And it's a subtle obstacle that prevents them from tasting the sweet results of Dharma practice. And they get older, they get more frustrated, and they're not able to progress. They're stuck. And it's this thing which is blocking them. If one is not exchanging oneself and others, then it's an obstacle to spiritual progress and an obstacle to enlightenment. One will never guess it. Lao Tzu calls it an unseen obstacle. Not taking care of other people first is an unseen spiritual obstacle. And a great bodhisattva like Holy Chanchen Rinpoche or Holy Vishu Michael, they do what needs to be done. They have donations or earn money, and they use it wisely, and they keep it, and then they use it in an appropriate way. Endow a food fund for another 500 monks, or go to a temple, or engage in some holy activity. They do everything nicely, and they take care of other people nicely in a mature, responsible way. Being a bodhisattva and exchanging self and others doesn't mean throwing myself under the bus all the time, and it doesn't mean squandering one's resources, and it doesn't mean just being foolish or thoughtless. We have to engage in bodhisattva activity in a mature, responsible, and considered way where we're using our resources intelligently. But if we're not exchanging self and others, then not much will happen in our spiritual life, and we won't know why, because of this unseen obstacle, and certainly not being enlightened. So we have to work on it, and the more we do it, the more things will change, and the more incredible experiences we can have in our life. So in the text, someone comes up to Master Shantideva and says, Master Shantideva, I'm okay here in this life and in this world, in this samsara. I'm pretty content, I don't need to get enlightened. I don't need to have some high spiritual realization. I'm okay. Forget about this whole exchanging self and others thing. That's just fine the way it is. Thank you very much. I don't need all this. And he gets kind of annoyed. And he says, look, you're crazy. You don't even know how to get small, crappy pleasures. You can't even get small, simple, worldly pleasures in every consistent way. It's just, you don't know how to get yourself a little money consistently. You don't know how to get yourself small pleasures consistently. How in the world do you think that you're going to have an okay life in the ordinary samsara way if you don't know how to even create the causes of small, simple happinesses? You're crazy. Let alone higher kinds for happiness. He said, even if you don't want to get enlightened, you have to practice this method. Even if you want the stupid, small, simple pleasures in life, you have to practice this method, because it's what's going to bring us. And without practicing this method, we won't get the ordinary, mundane pleasures and satisfaction of this life that we want, and we won't get the higher spiritual golden realizations that we want. So, and it's not the way, exchanging self and others is not the way that people normally live. It's not a common thought by any stretch of the imagination. You don't hear somebody saying, I got a promotion at work because I suggested someone else should have a promotion instead. Or I became vice president because I helped someone else become vice president, and that's how I got my promotion. It's just not a normal way of thinking. People don't think in terms of, because I take care of other people, I get ahead in life. And quite the opposite, we're bombarded by media, newspaper, magazines, movies, internet that says you get ahead by taking advantage of other people, you get ahead by abusing other people, you get ahead by putting other people down, you get ahead by being ruthless and cutthroat and mercenary and not giving a shit about other people at all, in fact. That's how you really get ahead. So it's a sign of the corruption of this society and realm and time that we live in, that all of the established entities of culture and society are telling us to do exactly the opposite thing that will bring our happiness. And they're constantly bombarding us and constantly conditioning us to do the exact opposite thing that will lead to our happiness. And it's a very twisted, distorted place to live and where we live. To come across this information and teachings that say, ignore all that brainwashing, it's a source of suffering, and it's, there's afflict demons and obstacles and corruptions. Ignore this advice to get ahead at any cost and take advantage of other people to win out yourself. Ignore all that. In fact, be loving and kind to everyone else and take care of everyone else and be as helpful and sweet and sincere with everyone else as you possibly can, and you'll be happy to get ahead. If you say that in our society, it'll stomp at you, right? Are you naive? Are you crazy? You have to be cutthroat to get ahead in business or in life or whatever, right? So it's unfortunate, it's a sad aspect of our world and our society. Sad but true, right? So it's not something, this idea is not something we come up with on our own and left to our own devices, right? The notion that we have to take care of other people to get ahead ourselves is not something that will just pop into our head and we go like, oh yeah, I just had this thought. By helping Pete make a lot of money, I'll make a lot of money, or whatever it might be. So, I was having lunch today, and we're all having lunch together at work, and there's a container of peas, nice little petite green peas, and nice butter sauce, and everybody had theirs, and somebody, I wasn't sure if somebody had eaten yet, and I thought he had, and I'm going, I really like these peas. And there's not that many of them left. I really want these peas. As I've been pouring into my plate, really a little bit there, I'm like, I want the peas. He doesn't need the peas. And I'm thinking, I've already prepared class, and I'm thinking, but I really need to put him first, and I really need to leave the peas. I really need to leave peas for him. But I want the peas. I'm going back and forth in my head while I'm serving the peas and dishing the peas out into my plate. It's all the peas are gone. Like having this dialogue. In the meantime, all the peas are in my plate while I'm having this dialogue in my mind, right? And I ate all the peas. And so it's such a hard thing to do, to change that behavior. And we don't think that it's all of these small little things. Letting someone else have the last piece of pizza. Letting someone else go through the door first. Letting someone else have the peas. Always thinking about someone else and thinking, well, let me exchange myself with them. It's a very hard thing to do, and we don't realize that it's the peas that are actual spiritual progress, and it is. It's just that simple. It's these little tiny mundane things all day long, which prevent us from making spiritual progress, significant spiritual progress. So, and we would never make the connection that taking the last of the peas instead of offering it to someone else is why we're not eating holy beans and singing country deities and being spoiled and more. But it is. All this is low-level radiation, right? Of constantly seeing things incorrectly and constantly taking the gain for ourselves in small ways, and giving a loss to other people in small ways, that impacts us in a profound spiritual way. So these are the unseen problems of cherishing ourselves before other people, according to Master Shankardev and Gyatso. The best thing that we can do for other people is the best thing that we can do for ourselves. And if we want physical pleasure, ecstasy, and incredible mental and physical experiences, then we have to look after other people, and that brings that result. Whatever we want for ourselves, we'll get by looking after other people. And with that, the greatest physical pleasure, the greatest mental bliss will come from practicing these dharmas perfectly. The smartest way to get physical pleasure, the smartest way to get mental satisfaction and happiness and bliss is to practice these dharma teachings. And if we practice them, they will bring all the worldly things that we want, all the physical things we want, all the mental things that we want. Right? So the best thing we can do for anyone else is to try to offer the small pleasures to them with the idea that it's going to bring high ecstasy for ourselves, and that we can then teach them how to do that after we have it ourselves. So, the normal behavior we have of struggling against other people. We go to work and we struggle against other people, right? We're in a relationship and we struggle against other people. We're on the subway and we struggle against other people. This is like somebody's always slamming the door of the subway car when you're trying to get in, right? There's this low level noise. Like, you're trying to go through and get to the cafe and three people are standing there blocking where you need to walk, and it's just like, hello, stupid people, don't you notice you're in the middle of the traffic aisle? There's all these low-level annoyances, you maybe give a little bump as you go by, give them a message to get out of the way, right? And you go, oh, right? He has nods of, chuckles of acknowledgement, right? The guys especially, right? Yeah. It's all of these low-level irritations and annoyances with other people that says, get my way, it's inconvenient for me. What the hell are they thinking about? This is not working for me. And so we have to go into that more, we will. But struggling against other people is a source of suffering. And giving other people what they want is a source of our happiness and their happiness. The Sakyapana Gita in the 1200s said that the best way to get bliss for yourself, high bliss for yourself, is to give other people small happiness. And it is a common cause, and direct common cause to attain high bliss oneself. It's just by constantly looking out for the small happinesses of other people. Right? So, every time when a competition at work, give what you're doing to the other person. I'm at work and I'm like, I want to be the star. I want them to see that I did a better job on this than they did on this. There's this constant sense of, they screwed up today. Should I mention it to someone or shouldn't I mention it to someone? They screwed up and I fixed it. Should I point out what a great job I did and they screwed up? This is a constant natural human tendency of wanting to praise for oneself and to show other people in a less advantageous light. This is constant battle within myself, I don't know about you guys, constant battle within oneself to rein it in. To say, no, is that the right thing to do? Should I point out their flaws? Should I point out their mistakes? Should I point out that they could have screwed that thing up and they did screw that job up? And I fixed it. Or not. And so it really takes a lot of awareness and a lot of thought to keep coming back to doing it in a practical day-to-day sense, rather than our ordinary habits and our ordinary behaviors. Yeah.
It sounds like a simple calculation, but really it's all been impossibly complex. Mostly making somebody else happy consists of doing for them what they shouldn't have wanted in the first place, and they're completely mistaken. Okay. And really what they want is to be gratified in the selfish abuse of others. I'll give you a second. I'm concerned with the small happiness you're not passing that through your nose.
It's impossible.
Or maybe I'm not.
Spit it out. Spit it out.
I'm sorry, John.
For the sake of all me.
Yes, there's a special level in hell for me.
There's there's 9 levels, but
That was a nice one. What were you saying?
Yes, they want to be happy, but they usually want to be happy over the wrong things and for the wrong reasons. And generally, the kind of correction that we deprive ourselves of in their favor is exactly the kind of thing that they shouldn't want.
So you're saying we give up the things we really should have because they're good for us, to give them the crap that they shouldn't have and it's bad for them?
Yeah, of course. They shouldn't have the butter sauce all over the store. Their doctor told them 100 times. And then...
There could be a little bit of rationalization going on there.
But then there's the burglar who would be happy leaving the window with your TV.
Yeah, but come on now.
And the cop then stops them. But they have a sad story. They were deprived of a child. Everybody has a sad story.
I'm afraid Bruce is right on this one, John.
See?
Most of the classic story about the thief who comes into a monk's place, steals everything, and the monk who's in his robe says, "Here, you forgot this."
Let me try to reframe it if I may then, so perhaps it'll help. We're not concerned so much about their motivation and their perspective. Concerned about our motivation and our perspective. Right? What's the status of our heart and what's the status of our mind? And what's the nature of the karma that we're collecting? What's the nature of our view of reality and sentient beings? So, remember we're talking about developing bodhicitta, which is a very high, profound realization of how one can develop bodhicitta and how one can attain bodhicitta. And if you recall in the last class, and I hesitate to go there again, but, in the last class we talked about seeing others as ourselves. I think this class before. And so if one is really aware of the nature of projection and the nature of reality, and this is perhaps a little beyond the reach of what we're talking about right here tonight, but if one is aware of the nature of projection and the nature of reality, then one's aware that every irritation and inconvenience and irksome experience and perception is an expression of oneself. And therefore, the way in which one is responding to this is dealing with one's own mind and karma and affliction. Right? And so it's really a very skillful means to say that you have to exchange self and others because it's really much of a muchness. But that's not what we're talking about here tonight, but just to take it one step further, He's always going to take it one step further.
But it's also true that when a bodhisattva practices that whenever they practice an act of giving, they're trying to hold in mind emptiness of the 3 spheres. Otherwise, it's not really an act of a bodhisattva. It's just a normal mundane act.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There are many teachings on it, right? And so it's not either or. They all come at it from different angles or perhaps different facets of the same idea. So Master Shantideva is presenting a particular idea or method or line of reasoning. It doesn't replace another one. Mm-hmm. So seeing, working with the 3 spheres and having awareness of the 3 spheres and having correct view towards the 3 spheres is a very profound practice and a very comprehensive practice, which assumes everything. It includes everything. And every practice you can ever think of is included in that. And so this is one particular thrust, you could say, of practice. And Master Shantideva is saying this particular practice and this particular activity is at the core of true continuous true bodhicitta. If we keep walking around thinking that everyone around us is self-existent and they're a problem and they're an irritation, and then we're dumbheads and we're great, then, we're not going to achieve this. And he goes in, and we're going to go into it in later verses. There's a lot of verses, I don't know if we'll get to them all tonight, we'll see. But this is the last class, and next week is a review. Let me see. He goes into later in terms of how we normally relate to everyone around us, and how it should be related to everyone around us, and engage with them. And yeah, completely right, Phil. It's, the idea of the three spheres is simply that all of reality and all of existence is included in what's called the three spheres. The three spheres, which is myself, what's up with yourself, what's outside of me, and the interaction between those two. And that includes everything. There's nothing outside of that. And so the way one does that is a comprehensive, all-encompassing practice. Okay, so can you read that next verse? Can you let the fire go?
Every single harm that comes in this entire world, every fear that comes, and so too every pain that ever comes from grasping to myself. What use for me then is this, the single greatest demon? Until the day that you give up, your own self will not be able to stop the suffering. Until the day that you let go of fire, you will not be able to stop your hand from burning.
So Master Shantideva then starts to talk about this idea of, the verse is entitled Let the Fire Go, and he has a metaphor of a person like a charcoal briquette. You've got a red hot charcoal briquette and you're holding it in your hand and you won't let it go and you won't drop it. And it's crazy, right? It's crazy behavior. And Master Shantideva is basically saying, we're crazy, I mean, you have this thing which is doing horrific harm to you, and you won't drop it. It's like this idea of self-cherishing and treating others badly is doing incalculable damage to you, horrific harm to you, and you won't stop it, you won't drop it, you won't let it go. And he said you may as well just reach into a hot fire and pick up burning coals and hold them in your hand, and not let them go. It's the same thing. So, maybe imagine going up to someone who's holding this burning ember in their hand, going like, it's burning, and you're saying, let go, drop it. He's like, no, I can't, it's a real pleasure, I can't. It's burning. He said, it's just insane, it's crazy behavior, this is what everybody does. And people won't stop this behavior, and it's killing them, and it's torturing them, and it's bringing them all this harm, and they just won't stop, and they won't let it go. He said, he says we're all crazy. So Gyaltsab-je, the commentary, then starts to talk about the problems with self-cherishing that one can see. And he starts to go into some of those problems now with this verse. And basically, every single problem in the world that we can observe comes from putting oneself first before others. Every physical and every mental suffering in the world is caused by that. And all of the wars, all of the disease, all of the day-to-day problems are created by this, and that's where they come from, karmically, ultimately. And we won't stop doing it. So, from a Buddhist perspective, if we wanted to try to end the suffering of the world, we did this widespread program to train people to stop self-cherishing and place to exchange self and others. And according to Master Shantideva, that is the solution to all of the problems of the world. So, let's see, please say, me, matana, sekpa, pongyu. So me is fire, like a coal or a briquette. Me matana means if you don't let go. Sekpa is burning, and pongyu is you can't stop it. So Master Shantideva is like, just drop it, stupid. I mean, why are you so stupid? Just drop the burning coal. And so he's basically saying, if you don't let go of the burning hot coal, you'll never be able to stop the pain that it gives you. And it's the same thing with self-cherishing. If you don't stop self-cherishing, you'll never be able to end the pain that it gives you. Right? And people think that it's in their own interest not to give up self-cherishing. People think that it's in their own best interest to always put themselves first and others second. And that's what Master Shakti is talking about. And people say, this makes me happy, if I eat the last of the peas and don't ask them if they want any, I'll be happy, Well, it's a source of future suffering, unfortunately. Ironically, it's what's causing all the suffering in the world. And, so, all the problems of life. I can't find, I don't have steady income, I can't find a great place to live, I don't have a great relationship. It's very ironic. All the things that we set out to try to get by putting ourselves first, we can't get by putting ourselves first. So,
how are you helping the person that has lost faith because of goodness?
it's not that you're, this is my perspective. It's not about them at all, really. Maybe I shouldn't say that. But
That's weird to say.
it's wisdom, I think, to say, at a conventional level, they might be hungry. And so, as a conventional Bodhisattva, I should inquire as to whether they're hungry or not. So offering them the last piece of pizza, it's a simple, offering food to someone who's hungry, and nothing, it's very basic and very straightforward in that regard. But then on a higher level, karmically, it's obviously planting specific seeds to have food and abundance for oneself in the future. And on another level, it's training oneself in deep habituation to, if one has correct view, it's training oneself in deep habituation to think that they are me. And we talked about it last week and the week before. And Master Shantideva is going to go into it later in the class tonight about how we should relate to other people, and how we should think about other people, and how we should actually exchange ourselves and others, and how to actually do that, and how it actually works. I'll answer your question. But offering somebody else a piece of pizza, maybe they're not hungry for 10 minutes or an hour or something. If you give them a piece of pizza, it's simple.
Look it up and they see themselves taking the last piece of pizza.
Yeah.
Which is effective.
Yeah. Is it bad for them to accept your offering of the last piece of pizza? No. So it's, you can think about it in a lot of different ways. So, as a spiritual practitioner, one can get into this habit of saying like, oh no, not me, you. If we offer you an offering, you're like, no, I won't take your offering. You take the offering, I'll give it to them. This is like, And part of one's spiritual practice, part of the perfection of giving is allowing other people to give. It's an important part of one's practices is to accept things from other people, to facilitate them reflecting on their giving. So if one is accepting a piece of pizza with wisdom, one is thinking, oh, it's very beautiful if you're engaging in the perfection of giving. And I'm going to facilitate that by accepting the pizza thankfully, and I'll think properly about it myself, and blah, 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 blah. So if one's a spiritual practitioner, there is an appropriate way to just accept the pizza. And if one isn't a spiritual practitioner, it kind of doesn't matter. They just don't know any better, and they're, happy to have a piece of pizza. They're not aware of collecting any negative karma, and they're clueless, and no harm done, and all that.
Can I ask you a related tangent?
Sure.
What about when someone gives another person a compliment? What's the Master Shantideva talks about that a little bit, about when people praise your good qualities. But what would one do with because I think a lot of practitioners' tendency is to be like, like to resist or reject the compliment in some form.
That's a really good question, John.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a really good question.
Really good question.
Just they compliment you.
I was just a few seconds early.
It's all just a really good question.
You guys are way too advanced.
Sorry. The purpose of Dharma practice is to be happy. The reason we're here, the reason we're studying these things, the reason we're engaging in these practices is to improve the quality of our life, to improve the way we think of ourselves and experience ourselves in the world around us. So it's actually counterproductive, in my opinion, to reflect and deny and refute the positive things that come into this on any level. I think it's a suffering habit for a person to say, it's not okay for goodness to come from me. Well, how do you phrase that? It's not okay to be a good person. It's not okay to be a happy person. It's not okay to be a smart person. It's not okay to be a successful person. It's not okay to be a good spiritual practitioner. It's on and on and on and on. Right? So, I think it's one of the afflictions and inner demons that we have to conquer, which does not allow us to accept happiness and be happy on many levels. The reason we're here is to be happy. And so when happiness comes our way and we reject it, it's actually highly counterproductive. And it's, I suppose one could readily say it's really not watering the right kind of seeds. It's not providing conducive conditions for kind of seeds to ripen. In fact, quite the opposite. It's saying, well, when goodness ripens, I'm going to kill it. I want goodness to ripen. So you can be very careful with that.
You gotta rejoice.
Yeah, exactly. Feeling happy about goodness is very powerful, and is watering the correct kind of seeds, the appropriate kind of seeds to then facilitate further happiness and further goodness. And I think people haven't been to the teachings in recent years, but people tell me that Holy Mission Michael these days really emphasizes that one of the most important things about collecting karma is being happy about it, being happy about goodness and feeling good and feeling upbeat and feeling just very uplifted about goodness. The goodness that one's done, the goodness that one sees in their world, and by extension, obviously, the goodness that one is receiving. And then you see, it's a very profound thing because we shift out of a state of negativity into a state of positivity. If you want to just use broad brushstrokes, there's this way of being which says, yeah, I'm comfortable with negativity, I'm familiar with negativity, and that's where I reside, and that's, it expresses itself through me and in me and around me and via me, as opposed to I'm residing and abiding in positivity and goodness and joy and love and virtue and all those other traits and qualities. And it's really, I think, an acid test of one's practice in a way. Are we hanging out in goodness and virtue and happiness, on many different levels in many different ways, or are we hanging out in negativity with all of its, any of its various connotations? So Master Shantideva says, the tendency to cherish yourself, he calls it the greatest demon in the world. And it's the demon that ruins the happiness in the entire world. These habits, like not taking the last of the peas, we have to change these habits before it's too late. As we get older and older and older, habits are harder to change, the brain tends to ossify, and we become very, very set in our ways. I hear people often ask about their parents, when parents are 70, 80 years old, they're going to die, and they have these horrible habits, and how can we get them to change these horrible habits they have before they die? And you probably can't. And by the time someone has had 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years of habits, they're not going to change easily. So we have to change these habits sooner rather than later. Because the longer we have them and the older we get, the harder it is to change them.
It's something very wrong to look with eyes belonging to another and work for only my own goals. It's wrong as well to look with eyes working for them and to do something that's not right. Therefore, I should make all other people first priority, and anything that I ever find upon my person, I should take away from me. I should take away from me, and seek some way to make a use of it for other people.
So the goal of this chapter is to reach a direct experience of bodhicitta, which is this monumentous experience. It's this profound realization akin to seeing emptiness directly, to seeing emptiness directly. And when one has a direct experience or realization of bodhicitta, then one has a valid perception of Kavanana Sema that they're going to spend the rest of their life caring for every other human being and giving their life to do anything and everything possible with wisdom to every living being. And they know for a fact that they'll spend the rest of their life serving other people. They'll spend every waking moment helping other people. And it's a very, very sweet knowledge that one's life is in the service of everyone else. Until then, we have the idea of aspiring bodhicitta, which is the fake it till you make it approach. And the scriptures encourage us to pretend. The scriptures say until the day this happens, pretend that we have the attitude, imagine what it would be like to think that way and feel that way and act that way. To think that all my money, all my time, all my energy, and all my life is going to go into service of other people. Whatever they want, I'll give them, whether it's from some crummy little latte at Starbucks all the way up to nirvana and enlightenment. If they want it, I'll make sure that they have it. Right? And Master Shantideva says, think of yourself as a servant in the house of the master, and your job is to serve them fully, completely, and properly. What's the next verse? The title of the next verse?
Exchanging yourself and others.
So, in the commentary in this verse, Master Shantideva says, look, you may not realize it, but read the fine print of your Bodhisattva vows if you have them. When you took Bodhisattva vows, you swore that you would take care of every living being, you would provide happiness to every living being, and you would remove the suffering of every living being, right? But guess what? You are their servant and their slave. You don't own anything. You don't have anything. Everything you own, everything you possess, is already sworn and pledged to everyone else. You're just using it. You're just borrowing it. It's already theirs. You're just a servant of all mankind, of all sentient beings. So if you're the servant of all sentient beings, servants don't give their employers shit. Servants don't have a bad attitude towards their employers. Servants serve properly, without bitching and moaning and saying I shouldn't have to, and on and on and on. And if you have Bodhisattva vows, you pledged your life to help all other living beings. So Master Shantideva actually says you've already dedicated yourself to the people. And he goes into this thing. He says rip away the things you have from yourself and offer them to other people. Because there's this thing of it's mine and I want it, and I won't let somebody else have it because it's mine. He says, rip it away from yourself. Give it to someone else. You're just borrowing it from them. You've already pledged it to them. You've already committed it to them. It's already dedicated to them. You're not giving it to them. You gave it to them already. You're getting it back. So he says you have to go up to your body and say, look, I know you want the $20. I know you think it's important for you to have it. That guy needs it. Go give it to him. And so they're just collecting what they're promising, basically. So he goes on to say, he says, don't look funny at them when they make demands of you. Don't think askance of the situation whenever they make demands of you. They ask you for things. Right? They're just coming to collect on what you already promised. So he says, don't make faces because you're making faces at your master and not your employer, right? Don't even look at them with a bit of irritation because you promised to serve them. So. Right. So, go ahead, next one.
Make those who are inferior to you and so on be yourself. Make yourself now none other than the others. Practice this with a state of mind that's free of ideas, the feelings of jealousy, competitiveness, and pride.
So Master Shantideva starts to get into then how do we relate to other people and how do we interact with other people. And basically he says we relate to everyone in one of three ways. Everyone you ever meet, you relate to in one of three ways. He says that if they're superior towards you, if they're superior to you, you feel jealous of them. If they're about the same as you, you feel competitive toward them. If they're inferior to you, you feel proud towards them. Okay? So they're either below you, the same as you, or above you, and accordingly you have superiority, competitiveness, or jealousy.
Those are the three options.
He said, well, those are three options. He said, that's the basic way that everybody relates to everybody. He said, you go to work, you on some subtle level, on some, subtle, unconscious, or background, or low level in your mind, you're always sussing someone up and saying, how do I compare to that? What's my standing relative to that? Well, this is somebody who's a peer, and I may be competitive towards them because wanting to get ahead, or wanting to be more beautiful, or more fashionable, or make more money, or get the promotion, or whatever it's going to be. Right? And if it's somebody who's got a lot more than us, better qualities, better intelligence, more beauty, more status, position, then you basically feel jealous towards them, and you want what they have. It's like, I want the money they have, I want the beauty they have, I want the status and position they have. And if they're less than us, then there's a sense of, well, I'm better than you, I got more beauty than you, or I got more money than you, or I've got more position and status and power than you, or whatever it might be. That's always going on towards everyone all the time. It's not in your primary consciousness all the time. You could say perhaps there's to my mind, I'd say there's an undercurrent. Perhaps that effect.
Well, certainly everything that you just mentioned is commonplace. There are currents in it, but it doesn't exist to the exclusion of other ways of relating. We can look at other people who we consider to be have more than we do and find them admirable, and objects of veneration or emulation. We look at other people who are on the same level as us and we have understanding of their successes and of their difficulties. And then we look at pity on those who have less. And these are every bit as common as I would say these people are ways of relating. It's just a question of who in somebody's personal pantheon you point to.
Yeah.
It's more of a primitive thing, though, is what it sounds like. Like our primitive, like animals do the same thing, and it's just a way to survive, like the survival of the fittest, and how it's a little suss out something.
I totally take your point. Master Shantideva is really setting the stage now. He's saying, look, and he's now going to go into how we practice exchanging self and others. And so these three attitudes, he's basically setting the stage to say these three attitudes are key attitudes in practice with as we exchange self and others. And so then we're going to go into how we take these three attitudes and work with them as we exchange self and others. So I think let's take a break, and then we'll get into that after the break. It's a kind of a schizophrenia. It's a little bit confusing to try to wrap your mind around. But just to preview, basically what you do in exchanging yourself and others is you put yourself in the other person's shoes, and you put them in your shoes. You put your mind in their body, and you put their mind in your body. And so I would be in G's body looking at John. John's mind looking at G's body, looking at G over here. And so when they talk about exchanging self and others, they mean it quite literally. I'm over there looking at this person, and we'll talk about it more later. So that's a good
John Malkovich.
Have
you seen that movie?
Yeah, me and John Malkovich.
Yeah.
It's a new one.